This is a rematch of last year when the Edmonton Oilers beat the Dallas Stars in 6 and went on to the Stanley Cup final. Someone you met at that time is back with me this morning. Blair Gladue, superfan Magoo. Good morning and welcome back.
Good morning, Canada!
I was going to ask if you still had the drum and still had the gear, and I guess I didn't need to ask, did I?
No, you never need to ask whenever it comes to the drum. Let's go, baby!
Okay, let me hear it, and then we can put it down and talk. Let rip one more time on the drum, so let's really wake us up here for the big game.
Let's go, Oilers! Let's go, Oilers! Let's go, Oilers!
Fantastic.
Woo!
I love it. And it's not even 7 o'clock where you are. How do you feel? How are things looking for game 1 tonight and for the series, Blair?
So anxious, stressed, nervous, excited. Let's go. This is Canada's hope.
It really is. Hey, that's a good question. How do you feel about that? It's the one team standing. Everybody's on the Oilers bandwagon. Leafs fans, Jets fans, everybody now with the Oilers. As a super fan, how do you feel about the bandwagon fan?
I love the bandwagon fans. They've had enough, and everybody's had enough. They want Canada's team to win, and right now, Oilers are Canada's team. As Oiler fans, we were rooting for the Jets. We're rooting for the Toronto Maple Leafs. We wanted an all-Canadian matchup, but it's not going to happen. But let's go Oilers, man. Everyone's on board. We love you guys.
Okay.
Welcome.
Who is going to be key for the team in the series? Who are your players?
The key players that are going to be key for this series is going to be McDavid and Draisaitl. They have not yet shined, and this is their time to shine to take us to the Cup.
Okay. And what about Skinner? He can be shaky. He had those back-to-back shutouts. How confident are you in your goalie?
Right now, we are so confident in our goalie. All he has to do is keep playing the way he's playing, and then he'll take us to the show. I'm going to knock on wood.
And what about Ekholm? He might be back before the end of the series.
Yeah, having Ekholm back will be absolutely amazing as well. But right now, the system that they got, the defense that they got, they're contributing, they're helping out. So that's what the team's got to do. Just keep rolling, just keep playing the way you are.
Series starts in Dallas, so it's an away game for you. Where are you going to be watching tonight?
So tonight, I'm hosting at the River Cree Resort and Casino here in Edmonton with, I think, about 600 to 7,500 fans will be there with me.
A watching party?
Yes, a watch party. So they have a whole venue that fits 2,500, and then another venue that fits about 2,000, and another venue that fits about 1,500. So I got to go to each venue inside the resort and casino throughout the evening and pump them up.
And you do that so well. They've loved you as superfan Magoo for like almost 20 years now. Everybody knows you. Everybody loves you. What are you going to do? What's going to be special this year to really get them all the way to the Cup this time, do you think?
So what's going to be special this year is got to bring even more hype, more energy. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it, and the rest of Canada is going to do it. Let's go, Oilers! Woo!
I don't know how you're going to get more hype and energy. This I do not know. Tell me about your routines. There you go. Oh, a lot of caffeine. Maybe that's going to be key. What are your routines? What do you like? Are you going to take that sweatshirt off? Are you taking that hat off? Or is this what you're wearing every day? What are your superstitions and what are your routines, Blair?
My superstitions and routines are: you wake up in the morning, have my Timmies, listen to the 80s, iron my outfits. And this year, I'm going with kind of a different outfit.
Okay.
This medallion right here, this beaded medallion right here, I have not wore yet for any playoffs this year. I mean, since last year, because this year I just got this medallion, and it's little Ben. It's little Ben Stelter on there beaded. That's the little man that passed away of cancer last year. Oh. And this is him. This is him, and I'm going to wear it, and we're going to win the Stanley Cup with him. And he's right there by our heart, man.
Right there by your heart. I love it. When you talk about heart, I mean, you talk about your team with such heart. You talk about with such love. You're loyal to the Oil. We talked about this a little bit last year, but in case somebody's seeing our conversation for the first time, where does that all come from, Blair? Explain the story about why you love this team so much.
I love this team so much. It's from my grandparents when I was just a little guy, and sitting in front of that TV on the res, watching it on a hockey night in Canada. That's where it all started, and the passion, the love, has grew even stronger and stronger each and every year. I think of my grandparents, and yeah, I know they're watching from up above. I just love our Edmonton Oilers so much, and I won't ever stop. I won't ever stop having that love, that passion for our team, for our fans, and everybody else that's cheering from all over Canada. Welcome, man. Our Edmonton Oilers this year are going to bring it home. Wow, let's go!
I love that story, and you share the love with all the people you meet. Pick up that drum. I'm going to check in with you as the series goes on, Blair. Give me a drum out to commercial break, okay? Let's go Oilers, and let's talk again soon.
Let's go Oilers! Let's go Oilers! Let's go Oilers! Let's go Oilers! Whoa! Let's go!
All right, so I made you sit through that because it brought up like a point that I have been making for a while. Again, hockey as statecraft, right? Before we watched the highlights, I just wanted to talk about that. Loyal to the oil was a funny line that was used there. And it's this thing that I noticed that like each spring as we get closer to the summer and as the Stanley Cup playoffs get into the later rounds, Canadians get drawn into this ritual that transcends sport. The NHL postseason becomes a moment of national convergence where political fractures are glossed over in the name of a collective fandom. But this unity isn't accidental. It's curated. It's encouraged. It's strategically deployed in Canada. Hockey isn't just entertainment. It's statecraft on skates. This becomes especially clear when we look at the playoff phenomenon, not just as cultural tradition, but as a symbolic operation of national cohesion, as a recurring spectacle that reaffirms the narrative of a unified Canada, even as regional tensions churn beneath the surface. One of the most fascinating signs of this phenomenon is how Canadian fans routinely transfer allegiances after their own team is eliminated. This is especially prominent as often happens with the Toronto Maple Leafs when they crash out early, more and more later than usual, but when they crash out rather than disengaging, Leaf fans tend to routinely pivot their support elsewhere to whichever Canadian team is still standing. And there's some regional lines where it doesn't happen. It's like a Vancouverite cheering for the Edmonton Oilers or a Montrealer suddenly backing the Winnipeg Jets. It's not really just like a exhibition of sportsmanship in Canada. It's really this embedded symbolic right of national loyalty. Loyal to the oil was the line, and I think I'm going to use that one in the title or something like that because it's really like an unspoken rule. I remember 2006 vividly. I remember 2006 living in Sudbury and going to watch game one at a bar against Carolina, and I remember very similar Stanley Cup Finals against Carolina. Very similar situation, actually, now that I think about it. I think the Oilers are up like 5-1 in that game, and they ended up losing 6-5. It was that game where Rolison got hurt, and I think it was Ben Scrivens who had to come in and gave up a bunch of goals, and Carolina came back. But anyways, that's either here nor there. I'm just demonstrating that it's embedded into our culture to the point where I can recall it and remember where I was. And it's like a performative type of patriotism that makes like this certain type of patriotism okay because it's in the context of Canada. And I feel like in this moment right now, at other times it's been, I'll talk about it in a little bit, but it had been focused around Quebec, right? But now it's most pronounced in Alberta, a province currently marked by deep political resentment. Think Wexit, think the Equalization Fairness campaign, or this perpetual distrust of Ottawa. We see Alberta often uses hockey as a kind of pressure valve. During the playoffs, the bumper stickers that are reading "fuck Trudeau" or now "fuck Carney" or "the West wants out," whatever it is it's really momentarily replaced by blue and orange Oilers flags and McDavid jerseys and things like that. The playoff run really transforms the discontent within Alberta, at least in the Edmonton region, into something more palatable, digestible, and even celebratory, right? It's a type of nationalism that is in this more friendly form, and it serves to unite, right? And I feel there was a moment this year that really crystallized what I'm talking about, in a moment that fused politics and sports with remarkable precision. And this was on, I think, March 20th, 2025, just about a week, 6 days after being sworn in as Canada's 24th Prime Minister. Whoops, there it is. Mark Carney joined the Edmonton Oilers for their morning skate, wearing a jersey that had 24 emblazoned on it. There was footage of him laughing with players, taking a few passes, and blending into the rhythm of the rink. It all quickly circulated in the media. And just later last week, about a week ago, when the Oilers eliminated the Vegas Golden Knights in what was a dramatic playoff series, Carney's social media team recirculated that footage in a tweet that casted the Prime Minister as a spiritual member of the Edmonton Oilers. And it's this type of symbolism. It's this this is what I mean by it. It's just like pure, raw, unadulterated statecraft. That's what it is. And Carney is not just supporting a team. He's inserting himself into the national myth-making of Canada as like this allegiance to being like loyal to the oil. So let's take a look at this quickly.
Team in the world. I have the honor of saying best hockey team in the world. I have the honor of saying the starting lineup. Up front, Max Jones, Adam Henrique, Kasperi Kapanen, on D, Darnell Nurse, Jake Wallman, and in the pipes, Stu Skinner.
So there
best
it
hockey
is.
Team.
And so we see how important that is to like the message, the political message currently. This isn't spontaneous. It's not just happening because of vibes. It's not just happening because like he's a fan of the team. It's happening because it's politically strategic. Alberta is a very politically volatile region right now. And Mark Carney, technocrat that parachuted into the office of the Prime Minister as a Liberal, was looking very much for a soft landing. Skating with the Oilers wasn't just about hockey. It was about a calculated gesture of allegiance and loyalty. It's not that this would have even won anyone over, right? On certain issues like pipelines or the equalization formula or Wexit. But for a brief media saturated moment, and as the Oilers continue to have success, it creates this image of a leader who understands the soul of the province and how that is unified with the soul of the country, and that's through hockey. And in a country that is divided as Canada currently, that kind of performance really carries a lot of political currency, right? And this is where hockey as statecraft really comes into play, because what enables these performances to resonate within the broader infrastructure of hockey as a national ritual, and that is Hockey Night in Canada. It is a media institution that doesn't just cover the game, it shapes the meaning of the game and how we perceive it. And each night during the playoffs, millions tune in not just to watch hockey, but to experience that kind of civic connection, to experience that kind of civic ritual. The show has a very diverse range of people, diverse commentary. It's got a very traditional tone at times, but also a very reverential tone. It has these very carefully curated playoff storylines that turn hockey into a stand-in, really, for Canadian identity itself. And that's why it's always been on CBC. That's why they play playoff games until there's a Canadian team out, and then they just follow the team with the most Canadians, right? And that's how it's always been. That's how it's been for as long as I've been alive. And when Ron McLean delivers his silly, solemn monologues about what a Stanley Cup would mean to the country, right? He's not exaggerating. He's reinforcing that mythology that hockey is one of the only things that is able to bind us all together. And again, the CBC and Hockey Night in Canada play a very strong role here. They're not just reporting, but crafting this narrative right there in front of us. The playoffs become a serialized national drama, and triumphs, these wins, these big wins and triumphs over the American teams are painted as moments of national pride. A great example of this, and I was referring to this a while ago, is that when the Canadians made their unlikely run to the finals in 2021, there was even hardline Quebecers that temporarily turned into flag-waving Canadian patriots, and at least until they lost, right? That's where like that idea of like national patriotism meets like the cynicism of the regionalism that happens within Canada. And that's why hockey is Canada's most effective soft power. It's not enforced unity, but it's like an emotionally mediated cohesion. And critically, we should ask whether this manufactured unity is benign or manipulative. And if it is manipulative, to what end? Is it simply harmless? Is it simply a harmless shared pastime? Or is it a strategic distraction from Canada's enduring structural conflict? There's truth to the idea that Canada's version of bread and circus, it comes down to, there's truth to the idea that hockey is Canada's version of, There's truth to the idea that hockey is Canada's version of the bread and circus. At moments of deep political division, a playoff run allows people to channel their frustrations into harmless tribalism. Alberta may seethe over equalization payments, but if the Oilers are winning, that rage gets redirected into something that makes people feel proud instead of alienated. And you saw that, like when Mark Carney skated with the Oilers, he didn't resolve Alberta's long-standing grievances, and that's not what he's ever going to do, but he inserted himself culturally into a moment of joy, and in doing so he softens the perception of the prime minister, the liberal leader in hostile political territory. And it's not a coincidence, and it's not by mistake. It's strategic symbolism, and hockey has always been used this way in Canada. Like it shows very much that like Canadian unity is very fragile, and the moment that if it happens, if the Oilers are eliminated, the spell breaks. Quebec returns to its exceptionalist debates and about Bill 21 and various secularism, etc. Alberta will resume its grievances with Ottawa, and like clockwork, the Toronto Maple Leafs will begin another off-season, and it will enamor all Leaf fans once again, and their focus on any other team will wane will wane to 0% essentially. And hockey doesn't erase this regionalism, is what I'm saying. It suspends it. And I would say, as far as like using sports as statecraft, sports washing, I don't think there's any other country in the world that uses hockey as subtly and as effectively as Canada does for statecraft. The Stanley Cup playoffs are more than just a competition. They are a stage for national myth-making. They provide a rare space where bilingualism, regional alienation, and political cynicism are briefly set aside in favor of something that it feels like unity, even if it's completely manufactured through commercial means like Boston Pizza or Rogers or whatever else. And there's still something there because it's an energy. Like it's an energy that's there, that comes, and these teams and these events that occur captures that energy. And when figures like the Prime Minister step onto the ice, like literally step onto the ice with the team, they aren't just engaging in the culture, right? Like they're doing statecraft. That's what it is. That is what statecraft is. Hockey becomes the medium through which leaders connect, perform allegiance, right? That transfer of allegiance, that transfer of loyalty, and it represents that. If you're not an Oilers fan, then you're a fan because you're a fan of Canada. And that's the bind that holds this nation together. However temporarily it might be, it's still important in this moment, right? And it's been important in many other moments that were critical. And as long as Canada remains like a federation that's stitched together by these compromises and resentments and historical tensions, the game of hockey will continue to serve as a sacred distraction. It's never going to fix anything, but for a few weeks each spring, it's going to let us pretend that the country still makes sense. And sometimes pretending is just enough to stop us from demanding. And that's what hockey is. That's why hockey is statecraft.